6 o'clock, and I will call the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners Wednesday, January 28th meeting to order. If we could all please rise for the invocation and the pledge.
Lord, as we gather here this evening, we praise you in all things. In times of deep despair and in times of great prosperity, you are always with us. Bless our ears that we may hear our citizens. Bless our voices that we may have meaningful conversations. And bless our hearts that we may be guided by your wisdom. Help us to make decisions that enhance the lives of the people we represent, for with your grace and your help, we can truly make a difference. Let your love and your light shine down upon us all. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sarah, if you would please call the roll.
Johnson?
Here.
Crawford?
Here.
Klaus?
Here.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Krupa? Here. Lathrop?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Here. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of December 23rd, 2014.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Johnson, to approve the minutes of the December 23rd, 2014 regular session. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. I will now entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the January 2nd organizational meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Lathrop.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Kropa. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. At this time, it's our first opportunity for public comment, and I will ask Sarah to please read the rules.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act as amended. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. 1. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. 2. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. Chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak.
All right. Anyone for public comment? Please.
Good evening. My name is Bill Packer. I am a local business owner. I own Packer Builders, a building and remodeling company, and I was also the president of the Home Builders Association last year and sitting now as the immediate past president there. I'm commenting on item 8B, which is the soil erosion on the agenda. And we know that been to a couple of these in just last month, and we know that they're considering outsourcing of the inspections in this department. And we would like to, as representing the Home Builders Association, we would like to see the department stay as is. It functions well right now. We have a lot of construction going on in the area, and we're concerned that outsourcing of the inspection process may interfere with the continuity of the permitting process there. Anywhere right now that needs a soil erosion permit, once we get the permit, we need inspections, and we need this all to go timely too. Soil erosion permits that are already in process and on the job, if we need approval of those or finalization of the soil erosion permits in order to finish a project. That's one of the last things that we do there. But we would like to offer ourselves as the association to be involved in this if there's any way that we can do that via comment or input, but or if it causes the permit fees to increase. I know that we're trying to balance that department right now as far as the income, and we're not opposed to a fee increase in order to keep that department solvent there. So that would be my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Packer. I saw another hand.
Good evening. My name is Randy Camps. I live at 4716 Bartlett Road in Williamsburg.
I came here tonight to introduce myself to you because I am one of your, I serve at your pleasure on the board of Northern Lakes Community Mental Health. And since a lot of you are new, like I said, I just wanted to come here and be able to address all of you at the same time. Thank you for the opportunity to serve, and leave it at that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mike?
My name is Mike Wills, and I'm a resident of Traverse City and a developer in the area. Speaking on the issue of soil erosion permits, I too would support keeping the department intact and keeping the inspections in-house. I've had occasion to work in other counties where they have outsourced inspections, and it's not fun, and it's not easy, and it's expensive, time delays, et cetera. Yes, 2 days ago I had occasion to, we had a problem on our side with regard to how a permit was applied for, and it put a project that I've got going kind of in jeopardy. Mistakes were made by our team. But because we were able to sit down with the department itself, Bruce and his staff, we were able to pull the team together and get things resolved. And that's what you get when you have an in-house department. You get accountability, you get people that you can talk to. You don't have to chase all over the county to try to find a private contractor who has no accountability. So I'm in favor of keeping it. Raise the fees if you have to, but I would not like to see the permits outsourced. Thank you.
Thank you. Please. Dennis?
Thank you so much. Good evening. My name is Dennis McKee. I work for Consumers Energy. Our service center is at 821 Hastings, and I'm here tonight just to reach out in advance to let you know that Consumers Energy is updating our electric meter technology across the state, 1.8 million of them. And we're doing that because right now our meters on our homes, on the homes of our customers, don't tell us anything unless we put people in vehicles, drive to those addresses, walk up the driveway, look at the meter, and then hopefully record the information accurately. The new meters will send us a text-type message each night letting us know how much electricity each customer has used. We also don't know when the power is out unless a customer is home, notices that the power is out, picks up the telephone and calls us and says the power's out. Then we can go out and restore power. Beginning in 2016, the new meters will have the capability of letting us know where the power is out. Also, customers don't know how much they're being billed until the end of the month. The new meters will provide information that will allow us to put energy use online so that each customer can access that site with their own password, look at their energy use through the month so they'll know what their bill is going to look like before the end of the month. Consumers Energy will begin updating electric meters in Grand Traverse County middle part of this summer. We've already installed more than 400,000 of them across West Michigan, but we'll start installing them in the Grand Traverse area mid part of the summer, as I mentioned. So our customers, your residents, will first get 30 days in advance of us showing up to update the electric meter technology. This blue card in the mail, it has a phone number on it in case folks have questions, email address in case they want to go online. Then 2 weeks in advance of us getting there to update the meter technology, they'll get this letter in the mail letting them know we'll almost always drive a white Ford Focus. Whoops, wrong one. A white Ford Focus. Our employees carry their employee identification cards so they know that they're legitimate employees. We wear brightly colored safety clothing. Customers don't need to be home when we update the meter technology, but they can be if they want to be. If they want to make an appointment, we'll be there at a time that's convenient for them. We find a lot of our seniors and retired customers like that. On the big day, when they get that new meter, pretty exciting stuff. We leave this beautiful green commemorative door hanger letting them know they've got themselves a new meter. But if it's a sad day and we weren't able to update the meter, then we leave the blue, as in sad door hanger, which generally means they have a very large dog very close to the meter. We'll come back on a day when the dog seems happier to see us. So in closing, I'll leave for you these brochures broken down into 3 sections. How does it work? What's in it for me? And when will I get it? How does it work? We're using the cellular telephone network. When Cherryland updated their meters, they transmitted information across the electric lines. We're using the cell towers. The information that's sent has no personal information in it, no name, no address, not even an account number. The premise number of the meter, and then how much electricity was used, that's it. We can't tell how customers are using their electricity. That's their business, not ours. And nobody is making us do this. We're doing this to update the electric meter technology to provide better service to our customers. There are lots of myths and misunderstandings out there about various government agencies and so forth, but it's just a 127-year-old utility company updating meter technology to provide better service. I'm happy to answer any questions you have if it's consistent with your format. Otherwise, I've left my information so that you can contact me if you'd like me to come
I
back.
think it's wonderful that you're spreading the news early.
Thank you.
And it sounds like it's good news.
I think
I
so,
would
too.
consider it. I mean, I have no clue as to what, my electric bill is always a surprise.
I will leave for you a couple of these brochures then, these folders, which have a lot of information additionally. I'll leave those with the clerk.
Dr. Johnson?
Yeah, I mean, I work for Consumers Energy, so I know it's a great thing to get these meters. But also, what he
Yes.
didn't touch on is the safety aspect. We've got a lot of areas where there's dogs or whatnot, even the owners themselves make it difficult to read the meters. So, and it really becomes a serious issue. So this will help safety-wise also, and with the accuracy. You know, you will get an accurate meter read. So
No more estimated reads.
that's correct. So.
That's wonderful.
Wow, I like that.
All right, is there anyone else? I see no more hands. All right. At this time, on our agenda is approval of the agenda. I would like to add under new business, the appointment of Commissioner Klaus to county planning. So that will be 10B. Are there any other additions, changes? Anyone else? All right, seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, supported by Commissioner Crawford, followed closely by Commissioner Kropa. Discussion.
I'm going to beat her one day.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Sarah, next on the agenda is the consent calendar, and it's your turn.
Thank you. The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. All information identified on the consent calendar can be viewed in its entirety at www.grandtraverse.org. A, receive and file. 1, correspondence received by Commissioner Maxbauer, November 24, 2014, 2 items. 2, correspondence dated December 27, 2014, received by Commissioner Maxbauer. 3, resolution in support of Senate Bill 495 through 498 to curtail unfunded mandates, Marquette County. 4, Pugsley Correctional Facility minutes of October 2nd, 2014. 5, Human Services Board minutes of November 24th, 2014. 6, Community Collaborative minutes of December 4th, 2014. 7, Grand Traverse County Board of Public Works minutes of December 11th, 2014. 8, Department of Veterans Affairs minutes of December 18th, 2014. 9, Traverse Area District Library minutes of December 18th, 2014. 10, Road Commission minutes of December 22nd, 2014. B, approvals. The Public Health and Safety Committee recommends approval of the following. 11, Grand Traverse Sheriff's Office Oil and Fluid Change Service Contract with Williams Chevrolet. 12, Grand Traverse Sheriff's Office acceptance of Burn Grant funding for TNT officer. The Resource Management and Administration Committee recommends approval of the following. 13, compliance with the Public Funded Health Insurance Contribution Act, Public Act 152. 14, appoint Area Agency on Aging Representative Corey Hansen. The Ways and Means Committee recommends approval of the following. 15, board and committee appointments, Board of Public Works and Brownfield. 16, County Board 2015 meeting schedule amended. 17, resolution in support of the Hartman-Hammond connection. 18, County Commissioner appointments to other boards. 19, Information Technology Camera Surveillance System from EPS Security. 20, Planning Commission Ordinance Amendment.
Does any member of the public wish an item to be removed from the consent calendar? Seeing none, any member of the commission? Commissioner Kropa.
Item A3, resolution in support of Senate Bill 495 through 498.
A3 will now be 7-1. Anything else? All right. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as amended.
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Lathrop.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Wheelock. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. All right. Special orders of business. Next on our agenda is a public hearing regarding the CDBG Blight Elimination Grant closeout at 133 West State Street. At this time, I will open the public hearing. Does any member of the public wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing.
May I suggest that we ask Jean to just outline what this grant closeout, or what this grant funded, please?
That was going to be my next step, but thank you, Commissioner Wheelock.
I would do it before the public comment.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I'll
I ask
remember
again?
that, Sonny, next time. Thank you.
We can ask again.
Good evening. My name is Jean Dorenzi with the Grand Traverse County Planning and Development Department. Grand Traverse County received a blight elimination grant from the Michigan Strategic Fund for $512,900 to do blight elimination. And those activities were clearing and grubbing, soil excavation, and engineered fill at that site. We received, and as you had in your packet, a letter from our construction code office that identified that all of the blight elimination activities were complete, and our requirement, that is required by statute to have that letter in our file. So all of the activities are complete. Submittal has been done by the state to the state of Michigan. We have received our funds, and we anticipate having the closeout letter after the public hearing and receiving any public comments from the state probably within 2 to 3 months.
Thank you,
But it was a
Jean.
very successful grant. It helped the developer, helps the county to redevelop this site. The developer is also here as well. Thank you.
I will invite public comment at this time if anyone still wishes to make public comment on this. No? All right. Commissioner Wheelock.
I guess the point I probably to expand this discussion a little bit, I believe there's 2 parcels, 133 and 141 West State Street, that were involved in this project. The old bus depot for those of us that have been around a while. But the cleanup of this site included not only getting rid of some grubbing and some industrial and construction type fill that had been put on site, but also the elimination of a building that was existing there. And the cleanup has been successfully completed as per the letter, and now the developer can move forward with construction of a new mixed-use facility at that site.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. Number 7, items removed from the consent calendar. That was A3, resolution in support of Senate Bill 495-498. Commissioner Kropa.
Just a quick clarification for those of us that haven't served before on the board. When we see a resolution from another county or entity, it's just informational to know what other counties are doing. Is it any implication that we want to do something like this?
Sometimes it is.
Okay, how about this particular case?
The problem that I have with this is that I can't find these Senate bills in the Michigan legislature site. I understand what it is. I know the report they're talking about. I've had presentations, at professional organizations talking about this. It's very interesting stuff, but I haven't been able to look at the Senate bills because I haven't been able to find them on the web.
Well, I too couldn't find them, which is why I'm asking, first of all. And I just wondered if it was something that, administration wanted our board to look at passing as well, if this was something that was going to assist Grand Traverse County in joining with other counties. So.
Yeah, I was, if there are bills introduced, I'd really like to know who introduced them and, what chance MAC thinks they have of going anywhere, because usually there are some great ideas out there that won't ever see the light of day. They'll, go to committee and die there. And MAC can give us pretty much a good heads up on that. But if it has a chance and it is worth, pursuing, then yes, I'll bring something into the board.
And how does the process happen that a resolution from another county ends up on our consent calendar?
Basically, the last sentence, or the last, be it further resolved, says that the copy of the resolution shall be sent to all upper Michigan counties.
Right.
So their clerk was directed to send this to every
that was
county
it?
in
That was
upper
it.
Michigan.
Okay, I didn't know if it indicated something that we needed to research when we saw it on our, before I'm going to vote to approve something, I just
But you're-
like to know what it is.
No, Huron County, we're going to get something once every month or so
Okay,
from Huron
good
County.
information.
They,
You're only voting to
receiving
receive
it,
and,
right.
receive and file
I
it.
just wondered why we're receiving it, but that's why they're just informational, saying, hey, this is what we're doing.
Came in the mail.
But we don't send out resolutions to other counties typically.
sometimes we do.
Rarely.
Sometimes we do, but rarely.
Sometimes, but rarely.
Just thought it was a good learning point. I will move to receive and file item A3, resolution in support of Senate Bill 495 through 498, allegedly, to curtail unfunded mandates, Marquette County.
Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Crawford. Discussion.
Good.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. All right.
Oh.
Department action items, emergency management. Greg, please introduce yourself.
Good evening. Greg Bird, Grand Traverse County Emergency Management Coordinator. So in the interest of time, I know that most of this was brought up under the old board, but is everybody familiar with the county's natural hazard mitigation plan, or do we need a refresh? This...
Refresh, please.
Refresh, okay. Every county, there's FEMA requirements that come from the federal government to the state. There's grant programs, but every local government agency is required to have a natural hazards mitigation plan. And hazard mitigation is basically dealing with all phases for emergency management of disasters, preparedness, recovery, projects to improve upon specific threats and hazards. A great easy example of this is culverts. Typically, when you have to pay for culverts out of pocket to go under roads, they put in the metal culverts that have a low life expectancy. During instances of disasters, of flash flooding, those culverts fail all the time, and their life expectancy is considerably shorter. With a natural hazard mitigation plan, and you've identified those hazards within your county, there's actually grant programs that will pay you to put in either concrete structures or upgrade those to bridges. And that's just one of the many examples. They pay for warning systems. In tornado-prone areas, they'll put in safe rooms, storm shelters. Not only that, but in areas that experience a lot of flooding, they actually have programs under natural hazard mitigation that you can buy out homeowners that have been damaged by floods or in floodplains, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's only dealing with, this particular plan is only dealing with the identified natural hazards that Grand Traverse County is susceptible for. So this renewal, the plan was initially developed in 2007, and I'm looking at Michael Woods with Michigan, Northwest Michigan. They keep changing their name on me. He is our contractor for the region that's helping us put this together. But it was initially developed for the county in 2007, and it's required to be renewed every 5 years. Our current plan expired in 2012 due to sequestration, FEMA, hazard mitigation, shutting down, state budgetary issues, et cetera, et cetera. Ours is expired currently, which eliminates us from any type of grant program, or in the event of a disaster, certain types of reimbursement programs. So we are very rapidly, expediently trying to get ours up to date and approved. Unfortunately, what I found was, even though it was renewed in 2011, most of the information that was contained in there was still from 2007. And you all know how much things have changed in this county since 2007. I've only been here since 2012, and it's changed a lot since then. So this was a comprehensive overhaul of this plan by all facets of public safety. The planning department, John Syke, and I continually give him kudos and hats off because he saved me and us about 6 months' worth of torturous work by pulling together a lot of information. And of course, Michael Woods and Networks Michigan has been tremendous on this. This is a collaboration of 8 Northwest Michigan counties that were all up for renewal at the same time. And so where we are in this process after update, the board had a chance to review the draft plan as well as it was sent out to and gone through the township officials. And for the last 30 days from December 23rd through January 25th, I know that's 32 days, but there's a 30-day period requirement that it has to be publicly posted for public comment, solicit a public comment or review. In those 30-day period, which expired January 25th, there was not any comments received per the posting, which was also advertised in the Record Eagle per requirement, federal requirement, and that was posted on Thursday, December 25th. So at this point in time with no comments, I'm updating you on the status of it. And where we need to go now is we need to send this draft off to the state of Michigan, EMHSD, Hazard Mitigation Officer, for review. He will comment, and if there's any corrections or not, then he will send to FEMA's Hazard Mitigation Program for any comments, questions. If there's suggestions, revisions, we will do that. And then at that point in time, we'll come back to you for a public hearing and formal adoption of the plan. And that puts us back into graces. And after that, we have to take it to each township and municipality for a resolution, their choice whether they want to adopt it or not. I'm sorry, Michael, do you have anything to add, or is that pretty much summed up?
That's perfect.
Okay.
And the townships would have to adopt it in order to be eligible for disaster aid as well.
Disaster aid, mitigation grants, et cetera, et cetera. And it is strictly their choice whether they adopt it or not.
It makes a lot of sense not to.
It absolutely. But in previous years, there has been a handful of our townships that have not adopted it, and I believe it's just a lack of information. So I will personally go at least, it's going to take 2 of every township meeting, and there's only 1 of me. And there's a lot of townships, and there's only 1 of me. And I know that I'm not very busy, but and that's not true at all.
Just to clarify.
Just to clarify. That's not true at all.
This is where you say you're a one-man department, too.
I'm a one-person department that's badly in need of a planner. But I will go and I will target those specific townships that did not approve it the last time and see if there's any better information. But I'm saying this because I know all of you have township representation, and in the hope that after I see you all at the local public officials conference certification class that we're going to schedule soon, that I can hopefully count on you to help champion this out. And so we can be an entire county with a good plan. And I would not put my name on it, and I went back and forth with Michael, I would not put my name on it as a representation of emergency preparedness in this county if I did not feel it was a good plan. I wouldn't rubber stamp just a template. So if that eases your mind on how much went into this.
All right. Any questions or discussion, any more information that you'd like to give?
Thank you for bringing us up to date.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Next, soil erosion. Mr. Ramay. Please introduce yourself.
Bruce Ramay, Director Building Official for Grand Traverse County Construction Code Soil Erosion. And I'm here tonight to update the Commission on our status of RFPs, proposals for looking at fee structure changes. The FRPs were in the paper, noticed in the paper on Friday the 23rd and the 24th. We expect a response for those by February 6th. In your packet, there's 3 proposals of fee changes that we could bridge the gap for using less fund balance. I know I've talked to Commissioner Johnson about it. I'm here to answer any questions that you have or concerns.
All right. Are there any questions for Mr. Ramay? Dr. Johnson?
Later, they sent a comparison to 2014. Originally, they sent out the proposal with the increases, and I just requested from them to see if we increase these rates, how did it compare in 2014? And if you look, any of the proposals pretty much covered all of their expenses. So it kind of makes them revenue neutral. And in my talks with Bruce, the proposal that they like is Proposal C, which would actually dump almost $10,000. If you had that fee structure in place last year, you'd have dumped $10,000 back into the revenue. One of the things for Proposal C is it also allows them flexibility on their inspectors to use them more in the summer months to when they need the work or when they need the help. They're pretty busy, and you know, I don't have a crystal ball, but I kind of think that we're in the growth rate right now, and it's only going to increase for a while. So, like I said, I would even recommend a serious look at Proposal C. I have no aversion to raising the fees for this. So.
Anyone else?
Is that a motion?
I would make a motion. I don't know how that affects our RFP. Do we have to wait?
Yes.
No, it doesn't affect the RFP. The RFP is, because the board has asked, or the previous board asked, that we figure out what it would cost or how, you know, what it would cost us to contract this out, and how would that compare to the way, you know, the cost that we currently have. The only way of really knowing how to do that, I know Bruce had made contact with AGS, the company that services the construction codes and soil erosion in Benzie County, and they didn't want to segregate those, but without putting an RFP on the street, we don't know that for sure, because they just might want to do that. And we don't know what other inspectors in the area. We have a lot of people with certification in the area. A lot of them work for engineering firms, but we have no idea what the cost would be unless we put the RFP out. So we decided we have to do that in order to know that answer. As far as the fees go that you charge for these, you can do that anytime. I wanted to add one thing, the $832 that they spent in 2014 didn't include indirect cost, which is about $4,100, well, it's about $40,050 a year. So the Proposal C would actually dump more like $5,000 or $6,000.
It would greatly close that gap.
Yeah. And you don't know what's going to happen from one year to the next. But we could actually move this, if you were to increase the fees to that level, you could set this in a separate fund and start accounting for it separately. You're not allowed to charge more than the actual cost of the operation. That's just one of those things that's built into statutes and is not permissible for us to do. So that's my 2 cents, and we won't know the other answers until those bids come in, and then we'll come back and update you on that.
If I
You still have the floor.
Yeah, a couple other things too. I know it was mentioned that your department feels like they're doing a lot of work that DEQ should be doing. So hopefully when this Part 91 gets situated, that workload will diminish. I mean, I have a hard time thinking that you're doing work that the state should be doing themselves and we're paying for it. So
right.
Hopefully we can get that addressed. And then, let's see, the builder support's pretty impressive to me. You probably put them all in a room, they can't agree on anything hardly in the group, and to come in here and to support the department like they are, I think to me says a lot. My brother-in-law and family has always worked in in a trade industry, and sometimes it's cutthroat. So when you talk about raising fees and everything, they don't ever want to see it. But and inspections, a lot of times they don't want to see the inspectors. So when they're supporting this, to me it says a lot. So
Again, is that a motion?
As much as I want to, I still I think we owe it to see what the RFPs come in. I think it'll be hard pressed to.
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards Proposal C personally. I think it will help greatly with their morale and everything else to keep it in-house. And I think either way, we're going to need to raise some fees. But I'd like to see what the RFP comes out. That way, we do the due diligence for the community. So.
Commissioner Crawford.
I just wanted to echo that. I think it would be premature to make a choice when we don't have all the information in front of us. So we need to wait until we have something to compare it with. Now we say how much it costs to do it in-house. Let's see how much, just informationally, just so we have done our due diligence to find out exactly how much it would be to do it, contract it out. It would just be a good comparison.
Dr. Lathrop.
Well, the last time we did a comparison with other counties about these fees was in 2009. This study gives us two counties, gives us Benzie and another county. Benzie's not comparable to us. The last time it was done, it had Midland, Eaton, Lapeer, Livingston, Macomb, Washtenaw, and St. Clair. And it was put in a tabloid form so that you could easily compare and contrast. This report does not do that. It gives us a county that's not like ours, one other county, and it's not in tabloid form. I'd like to see those other counties included. I'd like to see it in a form that we can easily digest. And another question I have, Mr. Benda, we put out a request for RFP, and we gave the public, what, 2 weeks to respond?
Yeah.
Isn't it usually a month?
Yeah, it's usually 3 weeks.
Well, why are we doing just 2?
I can't answer that. It was put out by the department.
I was under the impression it was 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of had that question myself.
Yeah, I think we should extend that.
Can we extend it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'd like to see these other counties included in this comparison of fees. But we're only given a tiny bit of information.
All right. Anyone else? Commissioner Kropa, then Commissioner Wheelock.
First of all, I'd like to see a copy of the RFP, so that's out, and we can see that. Is it online on the soil erosion site?
It's on the Michigan Intergovernmental Trade Network.
Okay.
Or I can get you a copy.
That'd be great,
Yep.
just to have an idea of what we're dealing with, because that's going to be critical information, as Carol says, just to compare. The second thing is, as I scroll through the proposals, again, not a soil erosion expert, but I see things like the words 76% increase and 45% increase and 50% increase. And I appreciate the words of the builders that that's something that they support. But as I know, the builders then pass that cost on to the citizens. So since we're here representing them, I think it would be hard to discuss or pass something with a 76% increase without at least questioning it. If in fact we are that low in comparison to other counties, I, like Dan said, would like to see a more comparable thing, just so that when we have a citizen that comes up to us and says, why did you vote for a 50% increase in a fee? We have some good information to give them. And I agree with Carol, I feel like we're lacking a little bit since we aren't soil erosion experts. So that's one thing. And I don't doubt that these aren't appropriate fees. I just don't know because I don't have anything to compare it to. But a 76% increase is very serious to your average citizen. So that's important, especially when we're talking about raising revenue in a department, which I absolutely agree that we should. This isn't anything against it, it's just asking for clarification. And along those lines, if we are looking at outsourcing, one of the reasons we would outsource is payroll costs, legacy costs, benefits, that sort of thing. And what I'm missing on the graphs here, I appreciate the information on the breakdown of revenue for 12, 13, and 14, but what I'm missing is a breakdown in expenses. So I'm having a hard time grasping where payroll costs and legacy costs fit in under the expenditures. And as you scroll throughout, 2012 had a, if I can say that is 12, 2012 had total expenditures of $241,000 and change, But then as we go to 2013, we go to 156,000 and change, which is a fairly significant difference. So that leads me to believe that expenses are based on obviously how busy you are, and on payroll is probably not a big portion of that. So that's where I'm lost at when we compare outsourcing. So
Let me answer the differences from 2012 to 2013. In 2012, we had the drain commissioner's salary included in that department. So that's a full FTE that's not in the cost in 2013.
That makes sense.
And that, we can provide you with the expenditure information. That's not a problem.
Just interested where the breakdown lies in the payroll on those expenditures, because to me, that's really a critical piece if we're comparing it with an outsourcing RFP. That would be good information. And then just a little bit more of the comparability, as Dr. Lathrop mentioned, just to justify these increases, which again, I don't doubt are legitimate. I just have to be able to answer to people. And then the last thing is just your opinion. What about dividing up soil erosion and construction code? Do you see efficiency there or a better service for the public? If you could focus on construction code alone and we had someone else focusing on soil erosion, would that allow for an opportunity for better response to the public? That when they call, would that help at all?
I don't think so, no. The other way you could do it, the way it was done in the past, or maybe not in the past, but if you had one full-time soil erosion inspector, he could be the chief inspector.
That's what I'm talking about.
And he could be, and then you could have a part-time seasonal employee. Pretty much like we have now, but you would have one full-time inspector which could run the department.
And that's, I think, an option to look at, because I understand that prior to the drain commissioner split in services, you yourself headed up construction code, and then somehow soil erosion got tacked on?
Yes.
Okay. So it wasn't necessarily maybe the ideal situation, it just happened to be the result of that split. So I wonder if when we're sitting here discussing this and looking at ideas for efficiency and better service, if one of them could be as simple as just splitting that up, like you said. I'm not talking about a different department head and all of this stuff. I just mean as far as the responsibilities of responding to the public and that sort of thing, since that was one of the issues brought up. So I think that's a good place to look.
Commissioner Wheelock?
Well, I would note that prior to soil erosion being added to construction code, it was handled by a separate department, basically operated by the drain commissioner. And I can assure you the list of public complaints that we were receiving at that time was a lot longer than we've received in the last 3 years since we've made the switch to put it under construction code. When we talk about the increases in the parts in proposal C that I do like, I think the one thing that's important, Bruce, is for everyone's information, if we could get a breakdown of what qualifies as a Category 2, Category 3, Category 4. Okay. When all it says is Category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
I think that if we don't, it's on page 75.
Well, maybe I missed part of it.
Yeah,
but
it's there.
And it's important, when we talk about these fee increases, that we talk a little bit about what the dollar amounts are too. The fact that your 23% fee increase went from $102 to $125 isn't a significant amount of money when we're talking about building a $250,000 home. But the fact is that when we look at is percentages, it doesn't necessarily reflect on what the actual. I understand that, but when Commissioner Kropa is quoting the $76, but the 76% is on a Category 3 permit, which I'm not exactly sure what.
Category 3 is your basic residential home.
Residential home, correct. So it goes from $113 to $200.
Sure.
This is going to require at least 2 to 3 on-site visits by an inspector, once for the preliminary when the footings are being dug, and once when the thing is closed, plus the plan review. I don't find $200 is an unreasonable fee for that.
Commissioner Kropa, then
Yeah,
Dr.
I just
Lathrop.
need- I never said it was unreasonable. What I said is when you have public information that shows a 76% increase, it's a legitimate thing to discuss that. We raised a cremation fee, and look at the outcry we had there, and you're more likely to have a building permit in your life than a cremation fee more than once. So,
Well,
you know.
in your life, anyway.
Yeah, in your life. So I think it's very reasonable. I was not responding to a 23% increase. I specifically said a 76% increase in something needs to be addressed because that will be put in the public. And if we're going to vote on something, we need to know, number one, what it is, and you supply that. And number two, how that compares to other areas and that we literally are that low on our costs. I think that's a very reasonable thing for a representative to ask.
Dr. Lathrop?
Also, in the past, the employees in the soil erosion department had the duties of providing stormwater calculations, doing drain code work and support, and drain code accounting and reports and related duties. The stormwater calculations and that type of work is technically much harder than the soil erosion portion. But these employees are working the same number of hours without doing that work and are getting paid the same salary and still doing a much simpler job. So I think classifying those employees and paying them accordingly will save the county some money. There's a lot of work that is taken off their plate, and they're still working the same number of hours, can pay the same amount of money. And I think also when you're just expanding fees, so this becomes an enterprise department, is not going to answer efficiency and effectiveness problems. We've got to, when things shrink, well, in your business, when there's no snow, the plowers don't get paid.
My guys get unemployment or underemployment in the winter.
Yeah.
They're laid off for portions of it.
So both the building department and soil erosion grow in summer and shrink in the winter. And it isn't just inspectors, it's the clerical staff too. So I think people should be paid for what they do. If they do less, then that should be reflected. And if they work less, that should be reflected. So we need to address that in this department as well.
What I'm hearing, from the most part from everyone, is that we would like to receive more information before we make a decision. I think that is absolutely appropriate. Dr. Johnson?
Yeah, to tag on to that, one thing we need to make sure is that we fully understand what they're doing down there. I think they're doing a lot more than what you realize down there during the off-season. So I think we owe it to them also to figure out what they're doing, if there are, some efficiencies we can make, but we need to first fully understand what they're doing, I think, before we start going down that road, so.
Maybe we also need a list of what they're not doing anymore that they used to do, so that we understand that the job is smaller now than it used to be, considerably so.
Commissioner Klaus?
Isn't there also less people in that department right now without the drain commissioner that was in that department doing the calculations, as Dr. Lathrop was pointing out?
You have one clerk specialist and 2 part-time employees, soil erosion inspectors. They were there when the drain commissioner was also there.
Who was doing calculations and such when he was there? If he was doing, if
That I
that's-
don't know.
Okay, which,
I wasn't involved with the
Right.
department then, so,
but none of that is being done at this point.
no.
That all comes to you. And if we can get back to Part 91, it would even lessen the load on the part-time
Well,
inspectors.
sure, changing the soil erosion ordinance could change everything too.
Right.
I'm going to touch upon that in just a minute. I'm going to try to bring it in at the end. I have an update for you.
Thank you.
Okay, I do have a couple questions, Bruce. First, I want to apologize for mispronouncing your last name.
That's okay. Happens all the time.
And this has nothing to do with soil erosion. We were having a little discussion about hot water heaters before tonight's meeting. And I confessed that my husband put in a new hot water heater, this was years ago, and didn't get a permit. And, but I was happened to be talking about it to the then administrator, Aloya, who said, "Did you get a permit?" And I said, "I didn't know I needed one." I immediately called and got a permit, and construction came out and inspected. Is that still necessary to have a permit for a hot water heater?
Yes.
Next question.
For a new hot water heater?
Yes.
It's a plumbing permit.
Yes, and, yes. Now, the reason I bring this up, first of all, it's revenue. The reason I bring this up is when a place like Sears sells a hot water heater, they don't tell you, that's where I bought mine, they don't tell you that you need a permit. Do you have any kind of program where you are going out and educating people who sell this stuff and say, you know, you need to inform the buyers that they need a permit to install this?
Well, Lowe's and Home Depot know that you have to pull a permit.
Okay.
So they have contractors, licensed contractors
Yes,
that do
but
pull
if
the
I
permits.
walk into Lowe's and just buy the hot water heater,
As a homeowner, no, they probably won't tell you.
yeah,
Only if they want to make money to contract a contractor to put it in.
interesting. The other, and then now I'm going to move back to soil erosion. I know Commissioner Kropa said, what about separating soil erosion from construction code? What about cross-training? Have you really cross-training your building inspectors with soil erosion? And the reason I mention that is I know AGS does that. Have you thought about that at all or researched that?
We thought about that. The problem is that soil erosion is on the general fund, construction codes on the enterprise fund.
I see.
How would we charge?
I-
We would have to charge soil erosion.
Say no more.
Yeah.
Say no more. I
But it can be done.
Well, yeah, which brings us back to, we need to take a look at how we fund this. Who had their hand up?
Dean looked like he was getting ready to.
No?
I thought you were going to pop in there.
Well, just to add, Bruce, that's an issue now with how it's accounted for. You can't mix the two. If, depending on, I feel that we need to see what the RFP
Yeah.
results look like. Depending on what that tells us, you could, and I think from what we're hearing, we're trying to move this over to a fully, well, like an enterprise fund where the fee covers the cost. If we're able to do that, you could transition this out of the general fund into an enterprise fund. I'm not a fan of adding new funds. In fact, there's some rules about how many funds you can have, but it could possibly be accounted for in an enterprise fund, even in the our inspections fund. But we would have to keep the costs and the revenues separate, and you can do that with your accounting system.
Okay. And, all
And
right.
if that was done, then you could cross-train?
That's
Building
a question
inspectors.
for Bruce. I
Okay.
don't know if that's.
Well, it can be done.
Okay.
Well, it is done. It is
Yeah,
done.
because it is done.
Yeah.
Commissioner Wheelock?
The only other thing that I would like to mention, though, is let us not forget that there are a portion of the Part 91 requirements that are statutorily responsibility of the county. Those responsibilities should not have to be paid for by the enterprise fund.
Right.
So, you know, I think we're always going to have a general fund component to this department because there are some statutory requirements of Part 91 that are required by the county to do. That's not the responsibility of Nick or any other developer who is developing a property to pay for. There are statutory requirements of Part 91 that are the county's responsibility.
Well, so tell me this. There are statutory requirements regarding building inspections, yet that can be an enterprise fund. What's the difference?
I believe you need to look at the Boca Code compared to looking at Part 91, because
We're-
Part 91 is very specific
We're-
about responsibilities of the
Well,
county.
yeah, okay. But that doesn't, I don't think, we're going to research this, just so you know. And now I'm going to update everyone on the committee to review the soil erosion, county soil erosion ordinance. I have talked to the Watershed Center, and TJ Andrews has graciously agreed to join the committee. I had the supervisor of Acme in East Bay suggest I contact Gosling Zubek, which I did. Gosling Zubek has agreed to participate. The prosecutor is going to participate, and we certainly will appreciate his expertise and knowledge. Dr. Lathrop and Commissioner Klaus have agreed to participate. I will be a member of the committee. I have asked Nick Agostinelli to participate, and he also has agreed. And he has even graciously offered to give the committee a tour to show us what our present soil erosion ordinance results in, as far as, from his perspective, in perhaps unnecessary work. And I want everyone to know that I did, at the Joint Housing Task Force, I did invite the Builders Association to join. I have not heard from them, and I am still open to adding additional people. I did invite some of Bruce's staff to participate. They declined. But we have, after I've made many, many phone calls, we have decided that we are going to wait until probably after spring break and certainly after Mr. Cooney's trial that is scheduled for February 24th. People are going to be on vacation with their children, families, et cetera, over school. They have vacations scheduled, but pretty much everybody is willing to, is looking at March, and I will keep you posted as far as my progress on getting a committee together. Any questions for me? Commissioner Kropa?
So you have no one from the staff in that department?
No, they've declined.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, Administration Finance January Claim Summary. That would be you, Dean.
Oh, I did hand out the claim summary for the month of January, and we're asking for your approval of the claims paid for the month totaling $8,222,797.87. And Commissioners Klaus and Crawford could probably explain some of these invoices if they want. But this is a requirement under state law that the board approves the claims that have been approved by your audit committee during the month.
Are there any questions for Dean, or is there a motion? Commissioner Kropa?
I'll make a motion to approve the Audit Committee January 2015 claims in the amount of $8,222,797.87.
Is there support?
I'll support it.
Supported by Dr. Lathrop. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Claims are approved. All right, we have no old unfinished business. New business. Item A, request to proclaim April as Social Host Awareness Month. Mary Beth Novak.
Thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity. I am asking that the commissioners will sign a proclamation declaring the month of April Social Host Awareness Month. And while I have an opportunity, I just would encourage every adult throughout our county to know what social host laws, the position you are put in under these laws as an adult who is likely to provide or allow minors to consume alcohol, either in your home or on your property. And I'm sure there's a number of people across the country who are there, these laws are in place, who could speak volumes to having wished they'd known before they were summoned into a court of law. I also want to just remind everybody here that underage drinking hurts not only the teen who gets involved in it and their families, but we as a community end up hurting too. And we pay lots of different ways for the youth who make the decision to use alcohol before they are actually 21 and have the misfortune or the good fortune of getting caught and dealt with. I go into our jails. I go into the Grand Traverse County Jail once a week to work with inmates, and I am just stunned. Please understand that alcohol, because it is so socially accepted, is one of the major gateway drugs. And I can attest to the fact that many of the people who I see in jail, who are there because of what most people consider to be the more serious issues, heroin addiction, prescription drug addiction, and the like. I do an informal poll, and most of them will say, well, I started when I was 12 or somewhere between 12 and 21, and my drug of choice when I first began was either alcohol or marijuana. And so in my mind, due to the experience I've had, there's a huge correlation. Please also, I'd like to people to realize that teens using alcohol are going to suffer more dire effects than adults who consume alcohol. The human brain isn't complete until 25, and putting alcohol into your body is going to affect how your brain is able to function. And if you've got a real heavy user and a young person, they will suffer some long-term effects when it comes to their brain because of that. And my last reminder to the community, well, please understand, we are not fast enough in my mind, but we are approaching the season for spring breaks and for proms and for graduations and for summer parties, and teenagers like all those things. But the best reminder, and it's pointed out in this proclamation, is for every adult to understand that 100% of the alcohol minors consume, minors possess, came from an adult to begin with. We have a huge obligation, and by signing this proclamation, I think the Commission can certainly support the points that the proclamation makes. I would hope that some of the people who might be watching this tonight might say, I don't have a clue what she's talking about as far as social host laws go, and maybe take the time to go on the internet or figure out what that means to them. It's a really serious issue.
All right. I would entertain a motion to proclaim April as Social Host Awareness Month.
I would make such a motion.
Moved by Commissioner Crawford, supported by Dr. Lathrop. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Crawford.
I just want to say, from my own perspective, being a good social host, in our house, I have kids who are rapidly approaching teenager. And any alcohol in our house is in a locked spot. Because at any time I can come home in the afternoon and have sometimes 6 or 7 boys who are anywhere from 7 years old up to about 14 or 15, and that's a very scary thing. And I know that we need to be very responsible with that. So I definitely support this proclamation.
I appreciate that.
Mary Beth, if you're going to speak, I would ask you to step back to the microphone, please.
I appreciate that comment, and the reality of it is that I've been at this work for 20-some years now, but I'm still appalled when I come to the realization that my neighbors, for example, are storing alcohol, and particularly beer, out in their garage, and then they don't bother to close the garage. Well, you know, that's an invitation for trouble. And so we adults really need to take this seriously. Alcohol is an abused drug, and it kills more people every year than all other drugs combined. So, and the younger kids start, more likely they are to have a problem with it.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. This is our second opportunity for public comment.
We have
Nick.
an item added to the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, we
Nick,
did.
I'm sorry. I forgot.
Hold on.
I'm going too fast. I added new business. The appointment of Commissioner Klaus to County Planning. After our last meeting, Commissioner Klaus expressed an interest to join the County Planning Board. We did not have a volunteer at our organizational meeting. I would entertain a motion to
Madam
appoint.
Chairman, I would move to
Thank you.
appoint Commissioner Klaus to the Grand Traverse County Planning Commission.
Supported by
I'll
Dr.
second it. Yeah, I'll second it.
Supported by
Glad to
Dr.
see it.
Lathrop.
Yep.
Discussion?
That's great.
Any issue with the resolution that was passed
No.
last week?
I
Okay.
talked to John Syke, we're all set.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
right.
Congratulations,
Thank you,
Commissioner
Ron.
Klaus.
Thanks for serving, Ron.
Ron.
Nick, now. Public comment.
Nick Agustinelli, Traverse City. With regards to your comment, Ms. Max Bauer, about Home Builders Association not getting a response back, I am a member of the Home Builders Association, but I will contact our executive officer and have her contact you so we can have hopefully another representative on the board.
Certainly. Thank you. Anyone else?
She was at our Housing Task Force meeting.
I'm sorry?
And she was the one at our Housing Task Force.
Yes, and I did hand her my card and invited her, but she did not respond yet, but I'm sure I'll get a positive answer. Thank you. I no doubt that you will. All right. That brings us to Commissioner reports.
Oh, I have one.
All right, Commissioner Kropa.
This just came up, Mr. Benda today let me know, it's no secret, I'm very curious how much Cass Road Bridge costs, and I am curious how much money has been raised so far, and as you've seen in our email chats going around this last week, we are trying to get those numbers together, so I think it's important to state publicly that we will be meeting with CRA and the Road Commission next week to look at these numbers, and that's it. There's no big excitement, other than I'm really excited to sit down and have all my questions answered on grant funding, because I know nobody wants to sit through that at one of our meetings. But I am looking forward to reporting back to the board what I learn. And I will also state that in an email and send that out to everyone as well. And then I will put that in an open packet for anyone in the public to be able to see as well.
All right. Anyone else care to give a report? I'm going to bring up the rear, by the way. All right. I would appreciate a few minutes, well, I'll make this quick, a little bit of your indulgence. I'm going to read you a Record Eagle article that was printed back in 2010. The recession's impact barely slowed Grand Traverse County's government spending until now. Over the last 9 years, county spending rose an average of 4.4% a year, according to a review conducted by County Commissioner Beth Friend. Spending continued to grow over the last 3 years at a 3.1% clip. The problem, two commissioners said, is revenue isn't keeping up. We are on our way to crashing and burning, said County Commissioner Christine Maxbauer. My projections are worse than Friend's. Friend and Maxbauer are the only women on the 9-member county board, and they've emerged as its toughest budget hawks. They voted against the 2010 budget, questioned revenue projections, and called for cuts. I think people thought we were a little henny penny, the sky is falling, and we really weren't given much consideration by other commissioners, Friend said. That brings me to my rather poor talk about last week about my vision for our budgeting process this year. I would like to bring it up again. It is really value, results-oriented budgeting. It is a different way of budgeting. It is a way to, I'll put it succinctly, it's putting our limited resources, which is time and money, where they will do the most good. We cannot continue to spend out of our fund balance more than we take in. I mean, you can only grab out of fund balance so many years. It has to stop. This is a way to ask ourselves, to take a look at our budget and ask ourselves the question, what's the value to our citizens? Is it worth it? I talked with Mr. Mike Muha, who is with the GFOA, and he is willing to come up here and give us a presentation, and he will only charge us for the expense of getting here. He is residing presently in Chicago, so it should not be too expensive. I have spoken with our administrator, Dave Benda, and he is familiar with the budget process. His response to me this morning was, I can do that. I talked to Dean briefly. I stuck my head in his door this morning, and Dean commented to me that it is a way to tie the budget to our strategic planning. So I would ask you next week at Public Health and Safety, I'm going to ask that we put on our agenda an invitation to Mr. Muha with GFOA to come up, and I'm positive we have money in our budget and/or contingency fund to cover this, and give us a presentation on results-based budgeting. I would like us to look at this early in the year before we really get into the budget process. And I do believe we are going to need to get into the budget process much earlier this year than we have in past years. We have a number of major issues to discuss. Certainly the 911 surcharge and where that money goes is one of many. So I will be putting it on the agenda for approval next week, and I would greatly appreciate your consideration.
So the approval would be for us to extend a formal invitation?
We would ask Mr. Benda to contact Mr. Muha to extend a formal invitation to Mr. Muha, and he said he can come up anytime. Okay. He's familiar with Traverse City, and he loves it up here, and I think that's why he said, I'll just do it for my travel expense. Yep. Commissioner Wheelock.
I think the second piece that you mentioned in that discussion, and I have no problem with that either, but I think we need to schedule a time to review our strategic plan. We have a 3-year strategic plan that's currently in place that takes us through 2015, I believe my memory is correct, particularly with the new membership. And I think we need to have an opportunity to evaluate the strategic plan, make sure, identify what of that have been completed, what still it needs to be completed, and make sure that those are still our priorities.
You are absolutely correct.
I think, that also is an important piece before we can actually talk about our ongoing budget going into the future. So I don't know how you want to go about that. We've done it a multitude of ways over the years. We've done it as a retreat type thing, whereas we just do a day thing and review the strategic plan, with sticky notes all over the wall. We've had outside facilitators. We've had John Syke facilitate it. We've done it a number of different ways. But, I think that it's important that we move forward with a schedule by which we review the strategic plan also.
Please indulge me. I absolutely, this is why I'm tackling this early. I want to tie our budget to our strategic plan. I know the administrator agrees that this needs to be done. Please indulge me and I have tried for 8 years, I know, Sonny, you've disagreed with me in the past on this. I've tried for 8 years to change our budget process. I really do believe this is a better way of budgeting. It gives us information to really make value judgments for the citizens that we represent, because we simply can't do everything for everyone anymore. We don't have the money. And so please indulge me. Let Mr. Muha come up. He will talk about strategic planning. He will talk about value-based, results-based budgeting. It involves performance measures so that we can measure how we are doing as a board, how our employees are doing, how our programs are doing. And I guess that's my 2 cents.
Are we talking about a separate meeting? Or something that would be part of one of our regular board meetings?
I don't know yet. Mr. Muha said that you can call me on a Monday, and if I'm free on a Tuesday, I'll be there. I said it doesn't work that way with open meetings. So
I just mean as far as duration. Are we talking about something like Sunday?
I would really like to see it be a special meeting.
Okay. I was going to tag on to that. It sounds like it's something we don't want to just quickly gloss over.
Yeah.
We're going to bring someone in. I think we need to take
Give him the time. Yeah. I appreciate that. Dr. Lathrop.
Well, I think we should bring in Mr. Is it Muha?
Muha.
First, because that might help us how to define our strategic plan once he feeds us with these new ideas. By the way, if I was religious, I would say praise the Lord, because I really am happy about bringing this guy in and starting the process of this budget approach.
Well, if the board doesn't like it, we don't have to do it.
Yeah.
We can do the same old process we've always done.
Yeah,
It's that
at lea-
simple.
At least we're getting a peek at it, and that's a great thing, I think.
All right.
I'm compelled to add, though, it's not necessarily that you and I have completely disagreed about the budget process. We just look at it from a different perspective, and I have said hundreds of times, the only way to look at the budget is to look at every service that you provide, how much that service costs, and how many people are served
And,
by it.
and that brings me back to what I said at the end of last year in the paper, we need an activity-based cost accountant. Whether this will result in that, I don't know. Whether that'll be part of our budget, strategic plan, whatever, who knows? But I appreciate your indulgence this evening. And at that, with that, I would entertain a motion for adjournment at 7:16. Oh,
We have a
Dave?
closed session tonight.
Oh, no.
I didn't want
looking at
Jen
that
Seaman to
clock
just
and
go
going,
away.
Oh, I was
without
so proud of
anything to say.
myself.
It was right there. I'll turn this iPad back on.
No one's asked, but that, we do need one.
Okay.
All right, and this is regarding
Labor negotiations.
labor negotiations.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session to discuss labor negotiations.
I'll second.
All right, moved by Commissioner Kropa, seconded by Dr. Lathrop to go into closed session to discuss labor negotiations. Roll call, please.
Crawford?
Yes.
Klaus?
Here.
Yes?
Say yes.
Yes.
Say yes.
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Kropa?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yeah.
Johnson?
Here, yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Thank you.
David, do you expect us to make a decision coming out of this?
No,
Okay, so we will come out and then adjourn.
sorry. Didn't mean to slow your roll, but we have something that we
That
didn't
was a
do last
surprise.
week because